everyone, welcome back to Garden Reviews. We are once again out in the tool shed, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Festool CLEANTEC, and I'm going to give you kind of my, it's more than a week, I've used it more than a week, but we'll call it a 1 week review. How about that? So I did get to use it pretty consistently for over a week, sanding a bunch of different things, and had the sander hooked up to this constantly, and it is phenomenal. This is a great unit. If you guys are looking at getting into and investing in some sort of dust extractor, Festool, I would highly recommend. Very, very impressive. This has a lot of cool features. So I'm just going to kind of walk through some of the things that I've noticed while using it, and then maybe give you guys a real kind of quick, like short pros and cons list as well. So again, this is the Festool. This is the CT36 AC model. So the CT is just the CLEANTEC. That's kind of the name of the larger vacuums. They've got a CT26, a CT36, and a CT, I believe, 48. The numbers indicate the capacity. So this is kind of 30, I think it's 36 liters. So it's middle of the road there. And it's a great size for what I'm doing. The AC stands for auto clean. That's a newer feature. I think it says right up here on the front here. Yeah, right there, auto clean. And essentially what's happening is, and I'm pretty sure this is all based on time, it will periodically, I believe it's actually reversing suction for a brief second to help clean out the HEPA filters that are located inside this machine. That prevents dust buildup and all that kind of stuff, and really reducing the performance and the life of the filter. And so it reverses it real quick. It helps drop and knock a bunch of dust down back into the actual canister here, and then it continues to resume. You have some control over that. It's right here, this first kind of smaller green dial here. Might be a little bit hard to see, but that's kind of the best situation I have here for shooting this. But it says AC up on top, and you can kind of move it from, I guess it'd be the left here, where you have no AC action going on. And then as you adjust this knob up and over to the right, it's going to happen more and more frequently. And all you would eventually get over here to the the CLEANTEC setting, which is Festool's like drywall sander. And so if you were running that, you would have it on the highest setting, and it's going to be doing that really frequently, keeping that those filters really clean, because again, drywall dust is very fine, and it would otherwise clog this up very fast. So you have some adjustment there. I ran it typically kind of right in the middle. There's a few situations where I didn't think it needed as much, so I'd kind of back it down. And at first it can catch you off guard if you're not used to it. When I first started running it, the first day or two, every time it would knock, it's pretty loud. You can hear it over the sander, and it would kind of almost like startle me. But it's doing a very good job, and and you get used to it pretty quick. So again, I had it kind of on that middle setting there. Here you have your basically your level of suction, and again, from left kind of down really low, and then as you ramp this up, the motor's going to get it's going to increase in power, it's going to provide more suction, and really kind of do a lot of work there. So again, I kind of had that kind of right in the middle there when I was using the Festool RO90. It seemed to work really well. And then depending on the tool and what you're doing, you're going to need to adjust that. And for instance, like I had one commenter, and I've read it elsewhere, where they said, hey, if you're getting swirl marks and stuff with like your sanders, you may want to back off the actual suction here, because what can happen is this is actually providing enough suction that it's pulling the pad down against the material, and it's leaving really bad swirl marks. That's not ideal. So that's something you can kind of play with, but it's a really nice feature that it's right there. It's easy to get to, and go for it. So, and then of course here's your kind of power on and off. And the way this is set up is straight up and down, the machine's off. If you move it to the left, it says manual, or it's MAN, and essentially what's going to go on there is, as soon as you click it over into manual, vacuum's going to turn on, and it's going to stay running. If you run it over to auto, machine will not turn on until the tool activates it, either via the power outlet here or via Bluetooth, if you have a Bluetooth module. This one does not yet, but that is probably something I'm going to be adding very soon, because it's a super nice feature. So the auto setting there, as soon as the tool turns on, This turns on with it, and it continues to run when you turn the tool off. This runs for a few seconds afterwards. I didn't really count and keep track, but it does run for a few more seconds to kind of just finish drying up whatever dust is in the hose there and at the work material, and then it shuts itself down. So super nice unit, full of great features there. Also on the front here, you have a stop, and you would step on this or press it down, and this black piece here rotates downward, and it's actually got like this rubberized piece on the bottom, and this would rock down, and you would be able to rock that machine up onto it, and it locks it in place. It stops it from being able to roll around. So if you know you're going to be stationary and you don't want this moving, just step on that, that drops down, and then you can press the release there, and that drops it back forward, and away you go. So great casters. I had no issues with those. Same with the wheels on the back. They seem very well built. Overall, great unit. We're going to spin to the back side though real quick. I'll show you. Got your cord wrap here, cord storage. I really like this. It's nice not having to like jerry rig something up here to make this work. It's all just conveniently right there. This one you can actually, this wing here, you can rotate like that, and then you can pull the cord off real quickly, and then when you're ready to wind it back up, this just rolls back and locks into place there. So pretty simple, but it works really good. The cord is fairly long. I don't know the exact size. Maybe I'll throw it in the video there for you guys. Otherwise, I'll leave links to like Festool's website. You can get on there and check out all the specs, and that's really helpful. So, but it's a really good cord. It's pretty robust. Good stuff there. And then up on the top here, I guess we're gonna kind of tip this. Hadn't really thought about it, but you can see they call this the hose garage, and basically does exactly what you would think it does. You can store your hose down in there, and it works phenomenal. With a little bit of a caveat. So depending on the size of the hose, the diameter, and then the length, may not fit in there like completely flush. It may be, you know, sticking out the top or something like that. I know currently the one I have is I think it's the 36 millimeter, and it's a fairly long hose. And it'll barely fit in there. I have to really kind of like stuff it and roll it in there just perfectly, and it will kind of sit flush. I could set a sustainer on here if I need to, but it's very, very close to just not working. Being that the tools I'm probably going to be using for the foreseeable future would probably work really well with like a 27 millimeter hose, I'm probably going to get one of those down the road, and that will fit in there very nice. It's a smaller diameter, so you can get that in there, and then you can use really kind of capitalize the top here. You have all these connection points for the Festool sustainers. So if you have your sander, whatever else, other tools you may be using, you can set it right on top of the vacuum. They lock in place, and you kind of have this rolling tower of Festool awesomeness. So that works really well though. Good system. And for some people, it may be bothered that like not all the hoses fit in there, but it's kind of a balance there between, you know, giving you some additional storage, but then also making sure that this isn't just like a giant beefy boy. So, because it's a pretty big vacuum already. I mean, you can go with the 26 and get a smaller vacuum, but I feel like the 36 is kind of a sweet spot there. So, I guess I can open it up for you guys too. You might want to see that. I'm gonna open it up, and then I'll kind of start talking about my thoughts after using it for a week. So you can see here, that's what the inside looks like here. I'm gonna carefully set that on there. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. I'm gonna roll this over here, get this situated. So Festool, you've got your HEPA filter. I believe it's right there, if I can see correctly. They have different style filters too, so if you don't require HEPA for whatever you're using, they have other options there. HEPA filters in general are just expensive. It costs a lot to make them, and the Festool ones are no different there. So the nice thing is with the auto clean, these are going to last longer, but when you do have to replace them, just be prepared. They are slightly expensive. So, but you do have options. And then inside here, this is what they call the long life filter bag. And the one nice thing, I've used other dust extractors, and what I really appreciate about this one is Festool's done a very good job of designing this right in here and making sure that this filter bag fits in here. When it's at full capacity, it's going to take up basically every square inch. This bag is designed for this canister. It's super nice. This long life filter bag is supposed to be incredible. And so far the performance has been really nice. And then the other feature I like here is the way it kind of clips in there. I've had other ones where they just kind of slide over the hose opening there, and it seems just like you're not getting a really good seal on it. So this actually has like a clip system that locks down, and this has like a reinforced cardboard front piece that's attached to the filter bag. This slides into grooves. This locks in, so everything stays really nice and solid. So it's a great system. I really like it. Again, you have a lot of options with the filter bags as well. They've got these long life ones. They're more expensive, but they have plastic. They have all kinds of different filter bags depending on the task you're doing. If you're doing something like running a saw and you're going to be ending up with like bigger chips of wood or a router or something like that, you could probably get rid of this and run something that's a little bit more economical, because you're not as worried about capturing as much dust. You're capturing more chips. One other cool thing, and I don't have one, but thinking of the larger chips and trying to collect that, if you're doing a lot of that where you have a lot of wood chips and wood dust, Festool does make a pre-separator. It's called a Cyclone CT, something like that. But it basically sits up on top of here. It's like a boxed unit, and what happens is your suction goes up to that first, and then that comes out and feeds your tool, and it actually sucks in, and then it's got a cyclone that's going to grab a lot of the larger debris, keep it in the cyclone. Some of the smaller stuff will escape, come down through, and then it will get captured in a bag. And it's a really nice way to ensure that like your really nice expensive bags like this, they're not getting filled with big chunks of wood chips and stuff like that. This way you can filter it, you can capture it real quick. That can be emptied out really quick. You can run it with a plastic liner. I think you can run it without it. It's just a clear container sitting on top there. So another awesome option. And in general with Festool, that's kind of what I'm starting to realize. Festool does a very good job. We'll just kind of jump into the pros and cons here. One of the pros, Festool does an extremely good job of thinking through their products and how it's going to fit into their entire system of tools. And you'll hear that kind of terminology with Festool. They consider themselves a system and all these things, but it really is pretty true. They have a lot of great features. A lot of things are well thought out, and they're designed to work with one another extremely well. So far, performance-wise, this has been an absolute beast. I sanded a bunch of door jambs in someone's home, had this hooked up all the time, and the amount of dust that was left over was very, very minimal, to the point where there was no real need to like plastic off whole sections of the house. This and the sander were doing a phenomenal job. I had very minimal cleanup at the end of the day, and I could sit there and sand on a door frame or something like that, and it was hard to even see dust escaping or anything like that. Like I couldn't detect it. So pretty incredible system. I'm very happy with it. Cons, it's a Festool. You're paying the Festool price. If you're not familiar, Festool's probably got some of the most expensive tools on the market. If you take one of their drills and another competitor's, it's almost always going to be more expensive with Festool. But in a lot of situations, it's probably worth it. And in dust extractors specifically, I think Festool may be, they may be in that top category. Hilti would be another really solid choice, and there's probably some others too. But Festool, especially if you know you're going to be using some of the other tools from them, some of their other products, this system just makes a whole lot of sense. Another pro, you do have the Bluetooth capacity there. On the CT series, I don't believe any of them included, so it's an additional module that you buy. It plugs into the front here. Let me spin that a little bit. So you take this cover plate off and it plugs in there. The cool feature with that is then any of your tools that have their Bluetooth batteries, they'll sync up. And so if the tool's cordless and it's running that Bluetooth battery, it will power this on as soon as it fires up. So that's a super nice feature. You can also have it set with a Bluetooth module and then get a second module that fits on like their hose at the end. So let's say you had it hooked up to like a miter saw and you're getting ready to make a cut. All you do is hit the button on the hose, fires this up, make a cut, and I believe it even shuts off afterwards or something like that, but you can hit it, turn it off, but you don't have to fumble around going back to the vacuum every time you want that to fire up. It's just going to fire up. And that's nice if you're running like a miter saw that's maybe cordless, or you don't want to plug it into the actual machine. You can get away with doing that. So trying to think another pro, they do offer quite a few different hose options. The one that I'm definitely probably going to look into is they have a hose and power cord combo, so it's all put into a sleeve together. That would be really nice, and I ran into it multiple times running this with just the typical hose. Your power cord eventually gets all tangled up and tight around the hose, and it's not a big deal. You take a couple seconds and you untwist it and get everything straightened out, but it's inevitably going to happen, so that would probably keep that really nice and clean and straight. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, performance, just hands down, this thing is just a absolute monster. Cons though, price, certainly one. If you don't need the Festool name and you don't need quite this level, there's other super good options out there. Makita, I mean, take your pick. There's some other really good dust extractors for a fraction of the price. So you're also getting into probably more proprietary equipment in terms of just like filters and bags. And I'm assuming that's pretty true with most of the other brands, but I know it's going to be 100% true. Like, there's not going to be a different alternative probably for the Festool one. So, at least to my knowledge at this point. So, trying to think what else would be a con. Weight, but honestly, I knew what I was getting with this size. If I wanted a little bit smaller one, I could have went with like the 26, and then they actually have a couple other smaller vacuums in their lineup that aren't part of the CT series that are also really nice. Yeah, boy, it's tough. It's real tough. There's not that many cons other than just the premium price that you're going to end up paying for this. You do get a pretty good solid warranty on all their equipment though, so that's nice. But at the end of the day, I am super happy I made this purchase and I decided to go with the Festool CleanTec. If you guys have any comments, questions, maybe you guys have one of these and you've been running it a while, I'd love to hear about it. Again, you guys let me know, what do you think? Is the Festool CleanTec, this is the AC, or CleanTec 36 AC, is it worth the price? These are close to, they're probably $9 to $1,000, I'm thinking. That sounds about right. Is it worth that price point? Or do you guys think it's worth getting into something else? If you have one of these, how's it been treating you? How's it holding up? I'm assuming it's going to hold up really good, but time will tell. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Catch you in the next one.